There is a peculiar kind of silence that exists at the heart of modern audio recording. If you listen to a piece of music generated by a sophisticated AI today, you'll find it technically beyond reproach. The frequency response is balanced, the pitch is mathematically perfect, and the tempo is locked to a molecular grid. It is, by every metric we use to measure quality, perfect. Yet, as the final note fades, you're often left with a strange sense of emptiness, as if you've just enjoyed a gourmet meal prepared by a Michelin star chef who forgot to add the salt. This is a paradox of our age. We are finally able to achieve perfection, only to find that perfection is not necessarily what we really want, that perfection is actually lacking something. We see this same clinical sterility creeping into the physical world, specifically within the realms of demolition and construction. In years past, building a skyscraper or tearing down a bridge involved a certain amount of feel. It was an unspoken conversation between the engineer, the site boss, and the earth itself. But today, that conversation happens in a vacuum. We use digital twins to simulate every stress test, every wind shear, and every structural vulnerability before a single spade hits the dirt. The computer analyzes the project from every conceivable angle, scrubbing away every single risk of error. The result is a building that is objectively perfect. It's efficient, safe, and precisely as the data suggested it should be. But look at it. Do modern buildings move you? Do they have the perfect imperfection of a Victorian terrace or a Gothic cathedral? Where a slightly crooked stone or a hand carved gargoyle tells you that a human being was actually there? When we remove the possibility of a mistake, we remove the thumbprint of humanity. That loss of soul is even more evident in the evolution of the tools we use. We're seeing a steady march towards automation and autonomy. There's a move to take the operator out of the cab and place them behind a remote screen. Anyone who's ever operated heavy plant machinery knows about feel. You sense it in the vibration through the joysticks. You hear the engine strain just before resistance gives. It's a tactile feedback loop. The machine becomes an extension of the operator's nervous system. But when you automate that process, you sever the link. The loss of humanity isn't just a poetic phrase, it's a literal loss of sensory feedback. Without that resistance, without that struggle between the man and the metal, the work becomes a clinical exercise in data processing. It's efficient, sure, but it has no spirit, no soul. All of which takes us back to the recording studio, or more accurately, back to a smoke filled room in the late 1960s. Consider the creative alchemy of Mick Jagger and Keith Richards of the Rolling Stones. Their process was the antithesis of the digital twin. They didn't arrive at the studio with a blueprint that had been analysed from every angle. Keith Richards might show up with a raw, jagged guitar riff, a few chords played on an acoustic, missing a string and possibly with the wrong tuning. And Mick Jagger would arrive with a few scraps of lyrics, half-formed thoughts scribbled on the back of an envelope. They didn't have a finished product. They'd sit in a room and rub those two incomplete ideas together until a spark made those ideas catch fire. The soul of I Can't Get No Satisfaction isn't found in the mathematical precision of the notes. It's found in the way the drums slightly lag behind the beat or the way Jagger's voice cracks under the weight of the emotion. It's found in the perfect imperfections that a computer would seek to fix. Today, a teenager in their bedroom can produce a multi-track song that sounds on the surface just as polished as anything coming out of Abbey Road. They don't need to read music. They don't even need to play an instrument. They can drag and drop perfect blocks of sound into a grid. That song might even become a hit. It might be streamed 1 billion times. But it will never, ever possess the visceral power of Gimme Shelter or the fragile beauty of You Can't Always Get What You Want. A computer can mimic the sound of a blues guitar, but it can't feel the heartbreak that necessitated the blues in the first place. It can generate a lyric about loneliness, but it's never experienced it. We're trading feel for efficiency in every sector of our lives. Whether we're building a bridge or writing a ballad, we're letting the algorithm smooth out the rough edges. But those rough edges are precisely where humanity lives. If we continue to prioritize sterile perfection over the messy, unpredictable brilliance of the human spark, we'll end up living in a world that's technically flawless, but utterly cold. We'll have sights that are silent, buildings that are clinical, and music that can't make us cry. In the end, we need to ask ourselves, do we want a world that's precise or do we want a world that's real? I, for one, would trade 1,000 perfect AI tracks for one more bar of Keith Richards hitting a chord slightly too hard on a guitar that's just a fraction out of tune. Because in that fraction of a second, you can actually feel something. And that's something that no computer will ever replicate.